Hi, we're going to be continuing where we left off, looking at Regex in Search Console, but we're going to move into Looker Studio this time and see what we can do there. First off, what we've already covered in Search Console, some really simple ways for us to segment queries and pages and see what's performing well and what needs help. All really great, but you do have to fundamentally do them every time you load up Search Console. Looker Studio is a way that we can take our learnings of Regex in Search Console, move them over to dashboards, and then create really useful visuals and ways of tracking that performance over time. So let's go and have a look. So just to remind you, this is where we left off last week with our Regex, looking at those questions of how, when, why, and seeing what questions were being asked by our users about our content. So taking our logic over to Looker Studio, what I've done here is create a fairly simple dashboard, which will hopefully save time and give us better reporting on those query clusters that we were talking about and non-brand and versus brand queries over time. So the first thing I've done is create a case when statement. So if I come out of this and show you what that looks like. So I've got my data source here, which is Google Search Console, and I've created a new field. I've called it query clusters. And what I've done is created a case when statement out of some of the regex that we were talking about in last week's session. All this means is that it's a statement that says, if this, then that. So when a regular expression contains a query of or containing GA4 or analytics or trend or analyst, tag, GTM, then call it analytics. So it's going to almost apply like a tag to those queries and allow us to build those clusters and then get a better idea of what kind of clusters are performing well. And I've done this just as some basic examples for some of the other things that we do on a website around SEO, content, CRO, and paid. So anything that it finds in these regular expressions, it will bucket into these SEO, content, or CRO areas, and anything else is left in unsorted. And the unsorted folder or group, as it were, allows you to see what other queries might fit into your regex, so you can evolve this over time, which is really useful. So what does that actually look like? So let's come out of there. So I've applied the query clusters to these elements, and what you can see is it gives us a breakdown of clicks and impressions, and you can get all the kind of standard Search Console metrics you'd expect for this. But what we can then do is, if we go and have a look at our analytics cluster here, give it a second to update. Worth keeping in mind, the more you do custom things like this in Looker, it can impact performance of the report itself, which is why we generally recommend, wherever possible, moving your data into BigQuery, warehousing it there, so that you can not only get better analysis of things that are going on, but also that it's quicker in bringing that information through to Looker or whatever else you're using. And you can bypass the kind of 16-month period that Search Console default holds your data, so you get more. So our regex has pulled this together, and then we can start seeing what things we're getting clicks for. If I highlight clicks here, and we can get a better understanding of what content is driving traffic to our website and seeing if we're answering our users' intent, which is the kind of main focus of what our content should be doing. So in here we can see there's queries around exploring date range, Q&A. We've got our positions here, so we rank second for GA4 questions and answers. There's lots and lots to be said from pulling these together and just saving yourself a bit of time if you want to analyze page performance and query performance. And if I go back to brand and non-brand that we were talking about as well, I've done something similar on another page here in the dashboard where we split them out using regex again, using the same kind of logic of that case when statement. And here we've got brand and versus non-brand queries, and you can see that split there. And you can even plot this over time. So really useful, saves loads of time when you found something that works for you in Search Console, and is something that you can constantly evolve. If you want any more advice on regex or Looker Studio, give us a shout, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.